So there I was, standing in the vacuum-sealed chamber of my office on orbital station Epsilon 9, staring at what should have been, by all reasonable medical and legal definitions across 17 star systems, a very dead human admiral. Jack Reynolds ran his hand through his thinning hair and sighed deeply. As the galaxy's premier human funeral director, he'd thought he'd seen it all. Turns out, all had an unsettling way of expanding its definition. "Are you absolutely certain she's dead?" asked Vorex, Jack's centillion assistant, his 14 sensory appendages twitching with skepticism. Jack gestured helplessly at the floating body of Admiral Eliza Harper, suspended in the preservation gel. 3 different physicians certified it. Human, Dragorian, and even that weird gas cloud doctor from Nebula 6. She's dead. Then why is her pinky finger tapping out what appears to be Morse code for "not dead yet"? Jack froze, then leaned in closer to the transparent preservation pod. Sure enough, the Admiral's little finger was moving rhythmically. Tap tap tap. Pause. Tap. Tap tap. Oh, for the love of, that's the human preservation nanites settling into their maintenance cycle. Happens all the time. It's just residual electrical impulses being managed by the nanites. Vorex's central eye stalk extended toward the body. I've processed 16,422 human corpses with you, Jack. None of them have ever tapped out distress signals. It's not a distress signal, Jack insisted, though with notably less conviction than before. Look, Admiral Harper is scheduled for the ceremonial burial at the Proxima Centauri Diplomatic Conference in 6 hours. The Galactic Council specifically requested a traditional human burial demonstration as part of humanity's cultural exchange program. Perhaps we should delay. Delay. And tell the Council what exactly? Sorry, the corpse is being suspicious. No. We're proceeding as planned. This is just standard nanite activity. 3 hours later, Jack stood proudly beside the ornate burial pod as it hovered at the center of the Grand Diplomatic Hall. Representatives from 217 species had gathered to witness the curious human ritual of committing their dead to the cosmos. Ambassador Threll, the massive mollusk-like representative of the Galactic Council, oozed forward to address the assembly. Distinguished delegates, today we honor the customs of our newest members, the humans of Earth. They have a most peculiar tradition of preserving their departed in ornate containers before ejecting them into the void of space. Admiral Eliza Harper, a respected pioneer in human-alien relations, will now receive this ceremonial treatment. Jack stepped forward, adjusting his formal burial robes. Thank you, Ambassador. Since the dawn of human civilization, we have honored our dead through ritual and remembrance. Today, we commit Admiral Harper to the endless voyage among the stars she so loved. He pressed his palm against the pod's activation panel, initiating the ceremonial transition sequence. The pod's transparent shell began to shift to an opaque gold, preparing for the final ejection into space. That's when all hell broke loose. A mechanical whirring emanated from inside the pod, followed by a loud, distinctly annoyed human voice. Override sequence Zulu 9 Tango Alpha. Cancel burial protocol immediately. The pod's shell reversed its transformation, becoming transparent again to reveal Admiral Harper sitting upright, looking extraordinarily disgruntled for someone who was supposed to be deceased. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly hall. Several of the more gelatinous delegates literally rippled as well, their shock manifesting in actual waves across their bodies. What in the 17 moons of Proxima is happening? Ambassador Threll's voice reverberated throughout the hall, his chromatophores flashing alarming patterns of red and yellow. Jack approached the pod cautiously. Admiral Harper. You were, pronounced dead. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Do I look dead to you, Reynolds? Well, to be perfectly honest, yes. 3 different doctors certified. 3 incompetent doctors, clearly. Harper tapped her chest. My nanites were running a deep diagnostic cycle. Standard procedure after extended deep space missions. Puts the body into a state that mimics death. Jack felt the weight of several hundred alien gazes boring into him. That information wasn't in your medical file, Admiral. Classified military protocol. Need to know basis. I feel like the person preparing to eject you into space might have needed to know. Ambassador Threll slithered closer, looming over both humans. Is this some form of deception? A human trick? No, just a misunderstanding, Jack said quickly, sweat beading on his forehead. Human biology is complex, and with our nanite technology. These nanites, interrupted Delegate Srith of the Sentient Machine Collective, their metallic voice humming with suspicion. They reanimate your dead. Not reanimate, Jack clarified, increasingly aware of the diplomatic disaster unfolding. They just maintain certain bodily functions after clinical death. For preservation purposes. So the human is dead, but also not dead, asked a confused representative from Beetlejuice. Admiral Harper climbed out of the pod, straightening her uniform. I assure you, I am very much alive. But certified dead by 3 physicians, noted Ambassador Threll. A temporary condition, Harper insisted. Death is generally not considered temporary by most galactic societies, Threll responded dryly. Jack could see the situation spiraling out of control. The Rigelian representatives were already backing toward the exits, their cultural taboos about the undead apparently triggered. Perhaps we should adjourn, Jack suggested desperately. Allow Admiral Harper to undergo new medical examinations. The human preservation technology must be investigated, declared Delegate Srith. These nanites blur the distinction between living and deceased. This has profound implications. Admiral Harper rolled her eyes. You're all overreacting. I was never dead. The medical certificates we have on file strongly suggest otherwise, Admiral, Jack muttered through clenched teeth. Ambassador Threll's appendages waved in a pattern that Jack recognized as the interstellar signal for emergency session. The Galactic Council will convene immediately to discuss this matter. This incident raises serious questions about human definitions of life and death, and the safety of allowing your burial practices in shared space. As delegates began filing out, many casting wary glances at the formerly dead Admiral, Jack felt his career disintegrating before his eyes. Well, said Admiral Harper, patting Jack on the shoulder, look on the bright side. Is there one? You're probably about to make history as the catalyst for new interstellar regulations on human burial practices. Jack groaned. Great. Just what I wanted on my professional epitaph. Vorex approached, all 14 appendages trembling with excitement. The Galactic Council has called for an immediate hearing. They want you to explain human burial practices and this incident. Fantastic, Jack muttered. I get to explain to the entire galaxy why humans can't even die properly. As if on cue, his communicator chimed with a priority message. 3 more cases of dead humans showing unexpected signs of activity had just been reported across different sectors. The galaxy, it seemed, was about to learn why dealing with human remains was becoming the most complicated funeral service in the universe. Jack stood before the Galactic Council's emergency session, feeling like he'd rather be literally anywhere else in the universe. The chamber's architecture was designed to intimidate, soaring crystalline walls that amplified sound selectively, allowing even the softest whisper from the council members to boom throughout the space while muffling the nervous breathing of those called to testify. Jack Reynolds, human funeral specialist, Ambassador Threll's voice resonated through the chamber. You will explain why the galaxy should continue permitting human burial practices when it appears your species has an alarmingly casual relationship with the concept of death. Jack cleared his throat. Distinguished council members, what happened with Admiral Harper was an unfortunate misunderstanding. Human medical technology. This is not an isolated incident, interrupted Counselor Vrax, a crystalline entity who communicated through precisely modulated vibrations. Our records show 17 incidents in the past standard galactic year involving supposedly dead humans displaying signs of activity. Well, yes, but Please display evidence file PHX 2187, Vrax continued, ignoring Jack's attempt to explain. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the chamber, showing footage from a funeral ceremony on Ganymede Station. The deceased, a mining corporation executive named Devon Walsh, was shown in an open casket during a traditional Earth-style viewing ceremony. As various dignitaries passed by to pay respects, Walsh's corpse suddenly sat upright, causing a planetary diplomat from Rigel 4 to faint directly onto an ice sculpture. That was a nanite malfunction, Jack explained hastily. The preservation programming glitched and triggered a preset movement pattern. Evidence file PHX 2188, Vrax continued mercilessly. The next footage showed a space burial similar to Admiral Harper's, but this time the corpse, an elderly scientist, began humming an off-key version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star during the ceremony, terrifying a delegation of musical harmonians who believed it to be a death curse. That was a vocal cord preservation test that accidentally. Evidence file PHX 2189. By the 12th example, Jack had given up trying to explain each incident individually. The pattern was clear even to him: human biotechnology, with its aggressive nanites, neural backups, and cellular preservation techniques, had created a distressing gray area between life and death that was causing interstellar incidents at an alarming rate. "May I speak freely, Counsel?" Jack finally asked when the parade of embarrassing footage ended. Ambassador Threll's skin rippled in the pattern indicating assent. "Humans are newcomers to the galactic community," Jack began. "We developed in isolation, and our relationship with death evolved differently. For millennia, death was final for us, no question about it. But in the last century, our medical technology advanced exponentially. We developed nanites that repair cellular damage, neural mapping that preserves consciousness patterns, and preservation techniques that maintain bodies in functional states for extended periods. You created undeath," stated a shadowy representative from the Morgul system, where any form of reanimation was considered blasphemous. "No, not undeath," Jack countered. "We extended the boundary between life and death. Sometimes, admittedly, we extended it so far that even we get confused about where the line is." Counselor ZKTHX, a hive mind representative, buzzed with agitation. "Our species witnessed the ceremony where Admiral Harper awakened. 3 of our drones self-terminated from shock. They believed it was a sign of the prophesied end times." "I deeply apologize for that," Jack said sincerely. "But there's something you should understand about humans. We're terrified of death. Always have been. Every bit of technology we've developed to preserve our bodies, to extend our lives, comes from that fear. The nanites, the neural backups, they're all just us trying to hold on to life a little longer." A soft murmur rippled through the council. "Consider the Lazarus Protocol," Jack continued, pulling up his own data display. "When a human body is prepared for burial, the nanites don't just preserve tissue, they maintain minimal cellular function indefinitely. That's why some corpses exhibit movement or vocalization. The nanites are running maintenance routines designed to preserve the possibility of revival." "Revival?" Ambassador Threll's appendages coiled in shock. "You prepare your dead for potential resurrection?" "Not exactly resurrection," Jack hedged. "More like suspended animation with an extremely pessimistic outlook. Most humans are buried with a 1 in a trillion chance of revival, but technically, it's not zero. And humans love technicalities when it comes to cheating death." The delegates conferred among themselves, multiple species communicating in their native forms, pheromones, light patterns, subsonic vibrations, and quantum entanglement signals all conveying the same general sentiment: humans were weird and disturbing. Jack thought back to his training days, to the case that had made him question his career choice. Talia Novak, age 112, had been declared dead after her heart stopped for the legally required 8 minutes. During her orbital burial ceremony, the solar radiation had unexpectedly jump-started her dormant nanites, causing her to begin reciting her favorite recipes to the horror of the mourners. It had taken 3 doctors and a software engineer to explain that she wasn't actually conscious, just a preservation subroutine accessing random memory fragments. Perhaps a practical demonstration would help, Jack suggested, desperate to salvage the situation. He pulled a small device from his pocket. This is a standard human burial certification scanner. It detects the difference between truly final death and what we call, technically dead but with nanites being weird about it. He activated the device, which projected a holographic spectrum. This green end represents fully alive. The red end is absolutely, permanently dead. Most species exist only at these 2 points. He pointed to the vast gradient between. Humans exist all along this spectrum. Admiral Harper was here, he indicated a point in the yellow zone, when she was certified dead. But her military-grade nanites were running a classified diagnostic cycle that registers as death on standard scanners. Ambassador Threll's chromatophores flashed with comprehension. So your species has multiple states of death? Yes. Exactly. Jack exclaimed, relieved that someone finally understood. We have, mostly dead, temporarily dead, dead but the nanites didn't get the memo, and about 46 other categories. This is unprecedented in galactic history, Counselor Vrax vibrated solemnly. Look, Jack said, adopting his most reasonable tone, I understand your concerns. No species wants to be in the middle of a solemn ceremony when a supposedly dead human starts tap dancing because their neural preservation circuit misfired. I'm proposing a solution. He waved his hand, and his assistant Vorex entered carrying a stack of digital tablets. The Reynolds protocol for certifying absolutely, definitely, no takesy-backsies dead humans. It's a comprehensive 50-point inspection process that guarantees a human corpse won't embarrass anyone during funeral proceedings. The council members examined the protocol with various sensory organs. This would require significant changes to human burial practices, Ambassador Threll noted. Yes, but it's better than being banned from proper burials throughout the galaxy, Jack replied. And let's be honest, it was only a matter of time before something like this happened. Last month, a human corpse started receiving software updates 3 days after burial. The poor vegan ambassador thought it was possessed. After hours of deliberation, the council reached its decision. Human burial practices would be permitted in shared space, but only under strict conditions, mandatory implementation of the Reynolds protocol, requirement for non-nanite certification, and the presence of a qualified human funeral director to handle any unexpected reanimations. 6 months later, Jack stood in his newly expanded office on Orbital Station Epsilon 9. The sign outside now read, Reynolds Pre-Death Certifications and Cosmic Compliance. Business was booming. Another call from the Andromedans, Vorex announced, his appendages juggling 3 different communication devices. They want to know if the Henderson funeral is guaranteed, no surprises. Tell them we've done the full workup, Jack replied, reviewing the certificate on his tablet. Old Henderson is registering at 98.7% on the absolute death indicator. We've deactivated his nanites, secured neural lockdown, and installed the anti-revival safeguards. He's as dead as a human can possibly be. Which is still less dead than most species are comfortable with, Vorex noted. Jack shrugged. That's why they pay us the big credits. His newest client floated in, a wealthy human industrialist nearing the end of his natural lifespan. Mr. Reynolds, the man said eagerly, I've heard wonderful things about your pre-death planning service. Thank you, Mr. Yamamoto. We pride ourselves on ensuring that when you die, you stay respectably dead for the duration of all ceremonial proceedings. Actually, Yamamoto leaned in conspiratorially, I was hoping for something a bit more dramatic. What would it cost to program my nanites to make my corpse sit up and recite Shakespeare during the eulogy? Just to see my ex-wife's face one last time. Jack sighed deeply. This was exactly why the galaxy had almost banned human burials. Sir, that would violate at least 16 different regulations, he explained patiently. But if you're interested in our final message hologram package, we could arrange something that won't cause an interstellar incident. As Jack walked his newest client through the catalog of acceptable final gestures, his communication device chimed with a priority alert from the Galactic Council. "Now what?" he muttered, checking the message. Apparently, a recently deceased human diplomat had been found to have illegal military-grade nanites that were attempting to access classified data networks from inside his burial pod. The Council was requesting Jack's immediate assistance. He grabbed his emergency kit and headed for the door. The universe might find humans disturbing, but at least it kept the funeral business interesting.